Hey there, math fans. I'm Dr. Andy Lovelace. This video is going to be a little different. I'm going to give a commentary on homework, mastering material, and studying. I'll finish this video with particular comments to my Math 126 students this term, but I thought I would start with a few things I've been thinking about. My one bit of advice is no matter what, in any of your math or just college courses, you're going to have to spend time with the material. That means, particularly in a math class, it means spending time with the homework and using that time efficiently. And that's often what students are trying to figure out. Usually that means you have to open the homework up early enough that you actually have time to ask questions. So this is something I've been doing in my classes is if I notice a student hasn't opened the assignment and it's been more than 3 days past when we discussed it, I'm sending them an email. I don't know how people are receiving that. But there's this behavior of this does in itself doesn't guarantee success, but you definitely are much more likely to do poorly if you're regularly opening the homework the day before or the day of its closing, because then you're like a week behind. So that's like a controllable thing you could do. But the other thing is conceptual. As I've been thinking about this all week and talking to students, there are students that do the homework quickly, they find a way to get it done, but they only know how to do problems in one way. Like they maybe couldn't explain it to someone else. So learn to do the problems in more than one way, and I would extend that to this. This is really what I've been thinking about this last week as I've been working with students. And what I mean is this. I've had students this week where I was working with them and they had this. And then another student I was working with that had this. These are just silly little things I want to mention. And the students learn things like, oh, I remember from elementary school that I multiply the tops and bottom. I remember from elementary school that I do this. And they're still doing the same thing. And so I sort of stopped them and I said, that's fine, but you really want to be able to, at this point, rearrange your arithmetic in any way you choose. Like I'd like to think of this as 26 over 2 times a third and just immediately write it as 13 thirds. And this one I don't want to think of as a fraction like this. I want to think of it as just being 3. Those are things that really speed you up. But I saw in the students' eyes a little bit of, I am reluctant to learn something new. I want to do it exactly as I've always done it. And I think that mentality holds people back. I was thinking of other examples of this that I've seen all the time. For example, solving a system of equations. We're going to do some of that in a second, and we've already done a little bit. And the question says something like, I want you to solve, I don't know, y equals x squared. And I've seen students that say, I have to solve both for y and then set them equal. And they're reluctant to just substitute this in. I'm trying to switch the perspective. If you see someone like me or a TA present something in another way, latch onto it. Try to absorb it. Pull it into your skill set. Think of it as an opportunity, not as something you're afraid of. When I see a student do something in a new and exciting way that may be faster, I want to learn it immediately. I'm not afraid of it. And so think about that. Like if the problem makes sense to you and you see someone do it a different way, don't shy away from it. Embrace it. Absorb it into what you know, and then you'll be more powerful. Just a comment. Also, sometimes when you do a problem, seeing it another way can be helpful, and that's what I try to do on the discussion board. I try to present things in more than one way. Okay. So don't shy away from a way just because this doesn't fit exactly with what you've always done. I think that is a hindrance. The other thing that's just a common theme I talk about is learn how to be able to look at your final answer and see if it's reasonable. I just had a discussion on dealing with the student on the discussion board. They had something like this, and they had to interpret their work. They said, I don't understand why the answer does not exist. It was just that moment of simplifying, moving everything to one side, and considering what you had. These things don't happen that often, and so you want to latch on to them when you see them. Another example I was thinking of that I have encountered a lot recently is problems like of this sort. where students have these various rules about flipping things. They only have one rule for dealing with something like this, and if they do it wrong, they don't know what to do. I like to tell students to multiply top and bottom by the same thing. That's something you always can do, and immediately see what that is. These are these little bits of skills that I have many ways to think about, not just one or two or three or four. I have many ways to approach lots of problems, and then I pick the one that works better for me. I feel like some students have painted themselves into a very thin pathway, and if things don't fit that thin pathway, they don't know how to do the problems. In order to do any of this, you have to spend time with the material, and when you notice something you don't know how to do, you got to dive into it and accept a different perspective. It's hard to do. In terms of doing well in our courses, then the other part is you need to review homework and regularly look at old exams. So now I'm going to switch to my actual course this term and say a little bit of why I'm thinking this. Apologies. Maybe that was for the better. Okay, here's our course. So I've been emailing students that haven't started their homework. In class, we've done problems. We've done these test preps. I don't cover everything. I cover a lot of the stuff. So you definitely want to go to class. If I did something in class you didn't understand, you want to make a note of it. I have the class notebook here. But the calendar, I've been telling, I didn't click the right link. But the calendar here, I'm telling you when to start and finish. This is the new thing I'm doing this term. And so if you didn't start 12-1 on the first day, you already put yourself behind. And this is a competitive university. A lot of students want to do well. So I just want to make sure the expectations are clear. Just because the homework is closing on this day does not mean you can open it that day and be successful. It's just not possible. Okay. So at this point, I'm hoping that people are into 12-3 and mostly done with it. I noticed there was of our 480 students, there were about 50 that as of today had not started 12-1, 12-2, 12-3. So that worries me a lot because that's 50 students that are going to be upset at me after the exam one for it not going well. And I want to catch that now. Okay, beyond that, if you're really stuck, if some people are like, I get stuck on every single problem, I don't know what to do. You do have quiz section, you do have the stuff I've done in class, but you also have the discussion board. I have a lot of stuff here. So if you haven't been going there, just a commentary on this is you can click on the particular homework, 12-1, you can see the discussions we've had, you can see hints on those problems, videos, that's all there. I've been strongly encouraged you to ask me questions. It can be on small things, on the arithmetic, but you got to start the assignment in a way that allows you to use those things. In addition, there's lots of places to get help on campus. Again, those places are going to be easier to use if you start earlier. There's the Math Study Center, there's quiz section, there's Clue, there's your TA office hours. Almost from 9 a.m. to like 11 p.m. every day, there's something. But you have to start early enough and then catch those moments in the homework where you're like, I'm stuck, I don't know how to do this. And then you should flip back through the homework and say, which questions do I know how to start? You should go through old exams. You can regularly just open them up. This takes like no time. You can tour through them and be like, okay, I don't know that yet. I haven't seen it. Area of a parallelogram. Ooh, that kind of sounds like a cross product thing we've done. A vector of length 5. That sounds like a rescaling. The line segment that's perpendicular. That sounds like a projection. I feel like this helps me get a lot of confidence, and that was just a few moments of me thinking about this. Some of the things we don't know yet, lines and planes, but you get, just by flipping through in like a few minutes, you get a good sense, and you can do this each week, and you'll start to be aware of more things you know. There's a vector, there's a projection, there's a rescaling. So that looks just like a homework question that you're doing this week. That should be a part of your routine. Beyond that, I'm just trying to get people excited about the material. I'm posting all these little videos of small things that people are asking about a lot. This is if you're stuck. You can find links to these in the discussion board. these things will help if you need to go a little deeper. Okay, I think I'll finish that and make a separate video where I just talk through the homework, but I hope that gives a little bit of perspective. All right.